Hey everyone, this is Brian from ActiveMelody.com. Well, in this week's guitar lesson we're going to take a look at a slow acoustic blues played with no accompaniment. So you don't need a jam track, you don't need another guitar player, you don't need a band. All you need is a guitar and a pick and you're good to go. And you can do this on an acoustic or an electric guitar. If you want to download the tablature for this lesson, you're going to want to go to ActiveMelody.com and look for EP065. You'll also be able to watch the part 2 video. So in this video we're going to cover the first half of what I played in the intro. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so we are in standard tuning for this, and I use standard tuning on all of the lessons that I do. I think it's confusing to people when you try and change the tuning. And I know that there's a lot of interesting tunings like dad-gad and open chords. Obviously if you're playing slide you're going to probably play with an open chord, but for the most part I'm always in standard tuning. And as I mentioned in the intro, we are using a pick in this, so we're not playing this one finger style. Now the first thing that I played was this little lead part that sounds like this. And then after the lead I played a rhythm that goes. So it's kind of a call and response. I always think of playing this type of solo guitar without accompaniment as a call and response. So the call being and the response being. And what that allows you to do, that format allows you to be able to jam and improvise with yourself. So you don't have to have another musician or a band. So you're setting the tone by playing the rhythm, and then you fill in the interim parts with leads. And so that's just a style that works well for me, and it's something that even beginner guitar players can really start to do, and it's predictable to the listener's ear. They know. Somebody who's listening to that kind of knows where you're going with it. Okay, so let's get into the actual notes here. Now I start by playing the 2 string or the B string. I play it twice, so I do an alternate pick. So it's a down up with my right hand. Those are the first 2 notes I played. Then I did a hammer on to the 2nd fret 2nd string, and I use my middle finger for that to play that note. So I'm not picking that note. I'm hammering it on. Now after I hammer that on, I do an upstroke on the 1 string, or the E string. So altogether that little part sounds like this. And that's just setting it up. It's kind of the pickup as you come right into the rhythm part. So as soon as you do that, since that's an open 1 string, it allows you to take your hand off the fretboard and reposition it to the E chord. Now, I'm assuming you know how to make an E chord by now. It's you take your middle finger and your ring finger and you put them on the 2nd fret. Middle finger goes on string 5, ring finger goes on string 4, and then your pointer finger goes down here on the 1 or on the 3rd string 1st fret. So this is kind of home base when we're playing this E chord. Now the way that I play it is I build the chord, so I don't just start with a chord, I go, and you can see my pointer finger comes off the fretboard and hammers on to that 1st fret 3rd string. So every time I play the E chord I'm doing that little hammer on, and that sort of is kind of a nice build into that chord. And you'll see me, I use that a lot when I'm playing lead. I'll do. So you don't have to do it just down here in 1st position. You can do it in other areas. So if I was playing a G chord, for example, you could build it that way. And that's what you're doing. It just gives it a real bluesy sound. And you'll hear a lot of piano players doing that when they're building chords. It's just kind of a cool way to do it. Okay, so after the lead part, we're going to come right into that E like that. Now, watch the rhythm of the E chord. Let me slow it down. So what we're doing here, after we build the E chord, I'm going to come up and do an upstroke, and I'm going to grab strings 1 and 2. And you don't have to be super scientific, or super precise rather, about hitting exactly strings 1 and 2. If you only grab string 1, that's okay. But that's what you do after you build the chord. You do that little upstroke. Now then I come here and what I do is I let my fingers kind of collapse so that my ring finger ends up barring the second fret, and I'm barring strings 4, 3, 2, and 1, although I'm only playing strings 4, 3, and 2, and that's an A chord. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm bouncing back and forth really between an E chord and an A chord, and for that. Although if you were looking at the blues progression, the 12-bar blues progression, this would still be considered the 1 chord. You have the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. So we're still in the 1 chord, even though I'm bouncing back and forth between the E and the A. So hopefully that doesn't confuse you. Just remember, we're still in the E part of the song. So you'll see that on the tablature, that it's still listed as an E. So, okay, so back to we build the chord, we do the upstroke, we play the A, and then I come down and hit the open E string, the low E string, or the 6th string, to set us all the way back for the build again. And if you're just starting this, I would just practice that over and over again. Set a metronome or whatever you have to do to just get that fluid. And watch the strum pattern with the right hand. So it's down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down. So you can see that most of the strokes are downstrokes. That's an upstroke. In fact, there's only one upstroke when I think about it. The only upstroke is when you're playing the 1 and 2 string there. Everything else is a downstroke, including that low E string or the 6th string. So now we've got the groove going, and that's something you can start to tap your foot. And hopefully, that just gives you a kind of a cool way to play an E chord instead of just, the old standard 12-bar shuffle that a lot of people go to, the power chord thing. So, okay, so let's back it up. What we started with was the call. Now we're going into the response, or the chord, or the rhythm part. Then I played a little lead part that goes. Now I got this, I was trying to think where I got this lick from. I think this comes from Eric Clapton Unplugged. This part in particular does, and I don't remember which song, but I'm pretty sure that's where I stole that one. But it's great because it's easy to do. Really what I'm doing, you can see I'm only picking that once. I just picked it the first time, so we're starting on the 2nd string, 3rd fret, and I use my middle finger for that. So I'm picking there. Now I'm going to slide for that note, do a pull-off for that note, and do a hammer-on for that note. So it's a slide, pull-off, hammer-on. Well, the first one is a pick, so it's a pick, slide, pull-off, hammer-on. So let me do it slowly. Pick, slide, pull-off, hammer-on. Okay, so now after we do that hammer-on to the 3rd, and the hammer-on is the 3rd, I should have said this, it's the 2nd fret, 3rd string. Right after that, then I play this little thing, and it's another hammer-on, also on the 3rd string, but this time I'm going to start with the open 3rd string, or the G string, no jokes, and we do a hammer-on to the 1st fret with my pointer finger. So, and that's that little Clapton Unplugged lick. Great little lick, and you can use that in any key, so we're obviously in the key of E, but if you'll visualize the minor pentatonic scale, and where we're at, so if we were in the key of G, for example, you could. Did I say we were in the key of? I meant to say we were in the key of E. I can't. Hopefully that's what I said. But if we were in the key of G, you could. That lick would look like this. Or if we were in the key of A, it would look like this. And hopefully you can see what's happening there. Obviously, it all hinges off that root fret, and I mentioned this in just about every lesson because it's so important to knowing where you're at when you're playing. Once you get that concept down, and once that sinks in, it starts to make sense. So the root fret when you're playing in the key of E, which we're in, is really the nut. Just think of the nut as the bar. That's what's happening there. So that's the lick. All right, so now after we do the hammer on, I said my timing was weird. Hammer on. After we do that, I come back down and hit that low 1 string to reset the chord again. I'm sorry, it's the low 6 string, or the low E string. Okay, now the second time through, I threw a little twist in there just to make it a little more interesting. And you can choose when you want to do this and if you want to do this, but the second time through I went... I just changed it up a little bit by coming up here and playing that variation. Now, what I'm doing, that part's the same. That's just a little chord build, the upstroke, the A chord. This time, we're going to come up with pointer finger on the 3rd fret 2nd string, middle finger on the 4th fret 3rd string, and we're going to play strings 3, 2, and 1. Just to give you a different variation to make it a little more interesting. And when you play it, the strum pattern, let me do it really slowly. You can hear that low E string or the low 6 string, the open 6 string, played kind of in between those. Now you don't have to do that, and I'm trying to remember in the intro if I played that low 6 string each time in between those. Some of that just depends on how fast I'm doing it. If you're doing it, you know, that fast, you may not have time to jump in there. But as a filler, it makes it make more sense, I think, to add in those notes, because really what you're doing when you're playing with no accompaniment is you're kind of simulating what the bass player would be doing. And that would be a little riff that you could just practice over and over again, just that little part. And you can pick and choose if you want to come up here and do this or not. Now, I only did it 2 times in the whole thing. I had to go back and watch how I played it in the intro. And I noticed I only played it 2 times. So the second time through, or for part 2, the part 2 video, I did not do that. And I don't know if it just got lazy or what, but so obviously it works either way. All right, so let's back up where we are thus far. Now we're going to go to the A part. Watch this. Now there's 2 open notes in that. The open 1 string and the open 5 string. When you play the open 5 string, that's the A string. We're going to the A chord at that point. So it tells the listener's ear by hitting the A chord, okay, now we're going to the A chord in the song. And since it's so 12-bar blues, it's very predictable anyway. So you would almost expect that that's where it's going to go. But so after I play So that's just that little hammer on again on the 2nd fret, 2nd string, open 1 string, the open 5 string to set the A chord. Now, another thing that allows you to do by having these 2 open notes, there's a little strategy here. It allows you to free up your left hand so that you can get in position to come and grab this A chord. And what I'm doing for that is I'm just barring the first 4 strings on the 2nd fret with my pointer finger so that I can do this. And what I'm doing there is I'm playing strings 5, 4, and 3. Those are really the only 3 strings I'm playing in the A part. But there's this little walking part, and all I'm doing for that, I'm keeping the bar down, and I'm using my pinky for this. Some of you may want to use your ring finger, whichever is more comfortable, but I use my pinky on the 4th fret, 4th string to play that part. Then I slide it up to the 5th fret, 4th string, and then back to the 4th, and then back to that, the A chord. So the only thing in addition to that I'm doing is I'm playing a low 5 string in between those. So it sounds like this. Hear the little 5 string in between, and in addition to that, I'm doing some palm muting. So I'm using this part of my hand to just sort of rest on the strings to kind of mute it a little bit, muffle it, and it gives it a nice, it's considered palm muting. And if you're playing that on an electric guitar, it sounds great too, even with a lot of overdrive. All right, so the timing of this goes like this. Now I'm going to call out 5, and 5 will represent that open 5 string. So it's 5 chord, 5 chord, 5 chord, 5 chord, 5 chord. And when I say chord, it's really just that little power chord. So that's kind of what you're doing. So the 5, or the open 5 string, is in between each one, so that the timing of it goes like that. And it's really important to get that palm mute for that, just to break it up. If you don't, it sounds really ringy. Which you could do, but I just don't think it sounds as in control. And plus it changes the dynamic a little bit too. So that's the thing when you're playing something, you're always wanting to kind of mix it up a little bit so that there's something new for the listener to hear. And it makes it more fun to play too. So, all right. After that, I go right back to that little Clapton Unplugged lick that I showed you. Exact same lick, so I won't break that one down again. Now we're going to come to the B7th. Well, hang on. Before we go to the B7th part, let me back up and play everything that we've learned up to this point. So, starting to feel it. Now we're going to go to the B7th. And for the B7th, there's this little walk-up. And the walk-up goes to an open 5, the 1 string, or the 1 fret on the 5 string, and then the 2 fret on the 5 string. And I just walk straight up, open, pointer finger, middle finger. And as soon as I do that, I go ahead and make the B7th chord. And so once my middle finger is down on the 2nd fret, 3rd string, 2nd fret, 5th string, sorry, my pointer finger goes down on the 1st fret, 4th string. My ring finger goes down on the 3rd fret, 2nd string. And then my pinky goes down on the 2nd fret, 1st string. So that I'm making the chord like that. And once I make the chord, it's just a down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up with the right hand. Watch. If I were to just draw that chord out, this is what it would sound like. You can see that the first one I'm doing is hitting the lower notes, or the 5 and the 4 string. And then I'm making sure to kind of hit the 1 and 2 string. So I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between the low and the high, and the low and the high. But I don't have to be super accurate with it. So every time I played it, it would be I'd probably be hitting different strings, but that's what the left hand is doing. Okay, and then to round it off, I played this little lick. Alright, so to play this little lead part, I start by sliding with my pinky. My pinky's already on the 2nd fret, 1st string from the B7 chord. So it's very natural to slide up to the 4th fret, 1st string with your pinky, as opposed to trying to use another finger, since it's already there. And after you play that 4th fret, 1st string, you take your hand off the fretboard, and so you can play the 1 string, or the open 1 string, or the E string. And that allows your hand, since your hand is off the fretboard, it allows you to reset it and use whichever fingers you would normally use for the rest of that lead part. So, you know, I don't usually use my pinky when I'm playing lead, so that's why that feels a little awkward for me. But just sliding up to the note is pretty simple. So now I come to the 2nd fret, 1st string with my middle finger, and then I'm going to take that off and play the open 1 string again. So we have 4, open, 2, open. Now we're going to come down to the 2 string, or the B string, and I'm going to play that with my middle finger. So we have that. Now I'm going to play the open B string, or the open 2 string. Now watch the right hand. It's just alternate picking. So it's down, up, down, up. So watch this. Down, up, down, up, down, up. And to close out the lick, all I'm doing is playing a... I'm starting here on the 2nd fret, 3rd string with my middle finger. And I really only pick that once. Do a pull off with my middle finger. See, the one my pointer finger's down on the 1st fret, 3rd string, and then I go ahead and do a hammer on to the 2nd fret, 4th string. Now when I'm doing that up to speed, I do it like this. I actually do the hammer on with my ring finger on the 2nd fret, 4th string, because what I'm really doing, if you look at the shape I just made, I made the E chord again. So it's just natural for me to just go ahead and hammer on both fingers, both the middle finger and the ring finger. Middle finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret, ring finger on the 4th string, 2nd fret, just to be in position for the E chord. Just like that. And that way you're right in position to play the E chord again. So let's back up and play everything up to that point. Here we go. And that's really all there is to the first half of that. Now you could just repeat that over and over again, or you could start doing your own improvisation, but If you'll go to activemelody.com, look for EP065, that's a lesson number for this lesson. I'll go ahead and show you on the side. I'll show you in the part 2 video, I'll show you how to do everything in the second half. As well as those two, I've got the tablature for everything, and I've got a slow walkthrough. That's just me playing through the whole thing very slowly without any talking, just so I know a lot of people like just watching that and learning it that way. So I'm trying to cover all the bases depending on what type of learner you are. So that's all I have in this one.